Hey, what's up? Happy Friday. Yes, I am still mildly recovering, but I ain't a hundo yet. Not 100% yet, guys. But either way, I'm on my way. I'm better than I was. I'm better than I was for sure Wednesday, for sure Thursday. So yeah, all of that's improvement. So, what's up, guys? Welcome to the live stream. Happy Friday. Welcome to Cozy Corner TV, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Kieran Smith. Call me Q. And what's up, y'all? We are back on the corner. All right, so we got a couple clips tonight to go over. First up, we got shout out to E News. Chance the Rapper shares toughest parts of Kristen Corley divorce. Now, apparently, this happened with Chance and his wife earlier this year. I actually didn't know that. I'm like, dang, how did I miss this? I actually like Chance the Rapper. I know they were married for 5 years, so we'll take a look at that. Then we'll switch gears and go to the Dynamic Reason channel. Shout out to him. Here is what detectives found inside the home of baby Emmanuel. He says, guys, we are all right. I'm going to tell you right now, this story is disturbing. So that's going to be my disclaimer for the second clip of the live stream. It's disturbing. It's dealing with baby Emmanuel. He's missing. I believe this is out in California. It's near Riverside. I do know a pastor that's out there with the church that I adore very much. And this is just a sad, just disgusting, repulsive story. And it's like, normally I don't cover things like this simply because like they could be extremely triggering for me, just because I had a baby brother that I lost when he was a baby. So usually like stories about like children being like, unalived or like kidnapped or anything like that, it can be a bit triggering for me. But I have done a lot of work over the years, so I'm not going to say it's not triggering at all. It's just it's manageable, but still grotesque nonetheless. It will turn your stomach, and it's mainly the father. What is happening here? Like, this guy has a rap sheet, and I'm glad when his rap sheet came out. That's probably what was one of the first alarms that made them go arrest the parents, other than the mother's story didn't match up. But just when you hear the dude's rap sheet, it's like, come on, bro, really? All right, so we're going to switch gears after that, and then we're going to go over to Bill O'Reilly. Shout out to Bill O'Reilly. Mark Levin talks on power, Trump, and Putin with Bill O'Reilly. We'll take a look at that. Quick 18-minute clip. Switch gears and go over to Tucker Carlson Networks. Shout out to Tucker Carlson, Ivy League professor who predicted the 2008 crisis, makes a terrifying prediction. Let's see what he has to say. I didn't think it was too terrifying, but he makes some good points. And then we'll end the live stream with a clip from Clip Buell. Shout out to Clip Buell, YouTube content creator that focuses on Christian content, that gets a chance to bless the channel almost every night when we end the live stream with Clip. All right, guys, so we're going to jump into the first clip of the live stream. We got shout out to E News. Chance the Rapper shares toughest part of Kristen Corley divorce. Let's take a listen. Let me make sure this is right here.
It's a different format of it, but like we've been through every format. We didn't get married until I was 26, and like I ain't gonna act like it's not tough. I ain't gonna act like it's perfect. And we just was like, we shook hands and did like
Chance the Rapper revealing the ups and downs of his divorce from Kristen Corley. The 32-year-old got candid about their breakup on the new Rory and Mal podcast posted August 14.
I think that the toughness is that it's a reality. I think that's the toughest part, is that you might feel like you're over it and you're not over it, or you might be used to a certain pattern of operating, and because it don't work like that, like you have to like allow yourself grace to deal with that and operate in reality.
Chance and his ex announced their breakup after 5 years of marriage in 2024, with the consciously uncoupled mom and dad entering an era of co-parenting their 2 daughters, 9-year-old Kinsley and 5-year-old Marley.
Like, kids is for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not 18. It's not even the rest of
it's not even the rest of their life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? God willing, it's like it's the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. You will be connected no matter what emotionally to this being, physically to this being. Always. Y'all in a Venn diagram. Y'all both connected to the same thing. Y'all plugged in.
Chance and Kirsten still putting up a united front in the wake of their split. Following a joint statement at the time on their Instagram stories, reading in part, "We came to this decision amicably and with gratitude for the time we spent together. God has blessed us with 2 beautiful daughters who we will continue to raise together."
I'm not saying we're the most emotionally mature people, but we both, I think, at least have that vantage point that allows us to never go too far, you know what I'm saying, in any direction. And I'm grateful that I got somebody that is like that. We try and always remember the importance of like supporting each other, loving each other, you know, not just for the sake of our kids, but for the sake of each other's sanity.
Right now at the Home Depot, shop Labor Day savings on LG appliances and get appliances that last with helpful features you can rely on for years and years to come. Now at the Home Depot.
Well, shout out to Chance the Rapper, man. Hopefully everything works out. Co-parenting situation. Not ideal, not a situation I would want to be in.
What's going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's the first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. You're a returning subscriber as always, guys. Welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Now, guys, guys, listen. Earlier today, we reported the breaking news of the day that Jake and Rebecca Harrow, who are the parents of missing 7-month-old Tyler out of Cabazon, California, Emmanuel Harrow's parents were arrested. Now, information is slowly trickling out, and you know, people are reporting on it. But now they're saying there was no kidnapping, and they believe the little boy is dead. On top of that, I'm about to show you a video that just came out. And before we get in there, let me tell you a little bit about when they were searching the house, what they found today. And this right here is rough. Now, you remember these people faked the kidnapping and said they were mad at police for coming at them instead of looking for the killer, the typical BS that liars do when they're trying to get away with a crime. Now, I want you to pay attention to a few things I wrote down. This goes along with what a lot of us talked about on the channel in your comments. I myself thought this. They said they believe baby Emmanuel has been dead for a while. Way before it was reported him missing. That's the first thing. Second thing is this. Saying detectives found a substantial amount of blood in the house, on the floor, in the carpet. So that's leading them to believe that, you know, he's gone already, which is horrific in itself to just even think about. They saying that they believe the father's the one that killed the child. Jake is the one. That's no surprise. They also said, look, now listen to this. Now remember, these people are crying and saying they didn't do nothing, and they want the public to stop harassing them and go find the guy that did this. Pay attention to these two things I tell you. All of baby Emmanuel's clothes were thrown away.
Oh, man.
All of his pictures were gone in the house.
Yeah, that's crazy.
As if he never existed.
Yeah, they did something.
And does that sound like a family that's desperately trying to get their kid back, and who would throw away clothes and pictures and all of that stuff without, and still be beside themselves wanting their son to come home? See the game?
Yeah, that's crazy.
These people are shit. And we knew it since last week. Take a look at this video, and I'll leave it at that. Leave me a comment. Remember, today's the first day. They've both been charged with murder and under suspicion of murder, and more information to come out. But just today, the stuff they said is like what a lot of you guys and I thought, and we talked about in the comment section. So shout out to you guys. Take a look at the video.
We begin tonight with a grim update out of Southern California. Police thought something didn't add up, and now the parents of a missing 7-month-old baby are under arrest, facing charges of murder. Good evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Vargas. Police continue to search for the body of 9-month-old Emmanuel Harrow tonight. Sources tell News Nation that police believe the father killed the baby, and they say it happened inside the home. Sources tell us a substantial amount of blood was found on the carpet inside. The baby's mother, Rebecca, first reported Emmanuel missing 8 days ago on August 14th. She said that around 7 p.m. she was changing his diaper outside her truck in a retail parking lot when a man came up behind her, attacked her, and knocked her out. When she woke up, she said, Emmanuel was gone.
I woke up right here on the floor, and I didn't see Emmanuel. If you know anything, please come and bring my son back. Please, I'm begging you. If anyone knows anything.
Police reportedly found inconsistencies in Rebecca Harrow's story almost immediately and confronted her about it. From there, everything went south. Police said Rebecca stopped talking. Investigators searched the parents' home, took their car, and issued warrants for all their phones and electronic devices. Child Protective Services took custody of their 2-year-old child. And Jacob Harrow's criminal history quickly came to light. He was convicted of child cruelty, a felony over serious injuries to a 10-week-old baby girl back in 2018.
Crazy.
In fact, a journalist told our own Ashley Banfield last night that the baby girl was hurt so badly she can no longer see, talk, or walk to this day.
See, he's sick.
Let's bring in our panel
He's literally
experts
sick,
now.
bro.
Kim Degoni
Like,
is
this
the former
dude, he's
assistant
sick.
district attorney for Riverside County, California. Bobby Chacon is a former FBI special agent, and Laura Mathias is a journalist and host of the Hidden True Crime podcast. Great to have all three of you here. Kim, I'd like to start with you. They've not yet found the baby's body, but they have already charged the parents with murder. How much evidence do you need before you can file charges like this?
Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for having me. In a case like this, the standard is probable cause in order to have both parents arrested for the charges of murder. So it sounds like from what your investigation has uncovered that there seems to be quite enough evidence to charge both with murder.
Bobby, parents are both in custody tonight. They will obviously try, they're being held separately. They will probably try and get one of them to flip and confess, likely the mother, correct?
Exactly, Elizabeth. I mean, we've been down this road before. You pick out which one you think you'll have the most success putting pressure on, and that, in this case, because of his prior history, I think it would be the mother, and she's obviously, you know,
the father's the one with the prior history.
Right, and the mother would be the one that you would put the pressure on, but it's her child as well. So I think that that's exactly what the strategy at this point is going to be. Really go with both of them hard and see if you can get some cooperation.
Lauren, sources tell News Nation not only that there was a lot of blood inside the home, but that all the photos of Emmanuel had been removed from the house. All the baby's clothing had been thrown away. How long do we think this baby might have been dead?
I think that we are suspecting actually quite a long time, according to the true crime podcasting community. They have been speculating when the last time Emmanuel was seen. We're hearing various dates, some even saying as early as August 3rd, but there's no sighting that we have known of the day of this. Now we don't even have to say alleged kidnapping. Well, I guess alleged kidnapping still, but
alleged murder in this case.
The alleged murder now, right? Exactly. Thank you, Elizabeth. And we are seeing this sort of pattern of it's been quite some time since baby Emmanuel has been seen. So who knows when this alleged murder now actually even happened.
Bobby, what do police do? You have a lot of experience in this. How do they, and we're seeing video right here. This is of Rebecca Harrow being taken into custody, handcuffed. She's been officially charged with murder already. What do police do in this case? They still haven't found the body of this baby.
Yeah, and it sounds like that's the next biggest step. That's where all the resources are going to go into. And now what you're doing is you're looking at cell phone data. You're looking at if you can track their cars or their cell phones. In the last few weeks, like we just heard, we don't know how long the baby's been missing. We don't know when the last time the baby's been found. They probably have an idea from talking to friends, neighbors, and relatives on who last saw the baby other than these two parents. And then so they can work from that kind of rough date and then look at if you can somehow pinpoint the parents' movements, either through their cell phones, through the mileage on their cars, where they got gas, and those things like that. I live not far from this area. I live about 20 minutes away, and there's a lot of rough terrain in this area. It's also very hot this time of year. It's 115 degrees in my house today. You'd have to just start looking in a lot of different places, and you have to be ready to go forward if you don't find the body, because there is that chance.
Man, this guy said you have to be willing to go far. Oh man, dude, this is hard to digest. I'm not gonna lie. Like this was hard for me. Like just hearing some of that stuff. Oh man, like about the 10-week-old baby girl. Like I'm like, bro. First of all, that was gut wrenching for me. I'm like, this dude. You mean to tell me like in the past he's heard a 10-month-old baby girl? Like to the point where this day she still can't walk, talk, or I'm like, okay, this guy. Like at that point, it was hard for me to digest, chat. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I live not far from this area. I live about 20 minutes away, and there's a lot of rough terrain in this area. It's also very hot this time of year. It's 115 degrees in my house today. You'd have to just start looking in a lot of different places, and you have to be ready to go forward if you don't find the body, because there is that chance.
Man, let me tell you something about this dude right here. They gonna have fun with him in jail. Dude, I don't like to wish harm on anybody, but let's just be serious right now. They said my man has a criminal history from serious injuries that he inflicted on a 10-week-old baby girl. A 10-week-old baby girl, to the point where till this day, she still cannot walk, she still cannot talk, she cannot see. I'm like, bro, when this guy goes to prison, they're going to have a good time with him. Like, they're going to have a good time with him. He is literally out of his mind. Like, I'm like, just sick. Straight sick. All right, guys. We're going to switch gears. We're going to go over to Bill O'Reilly. God bless baby Emmanuel. Let's pray that the police and the authorities, are able to find the body. Like the guy said, it's 115 degrees in his house. It's been over a week. So at this point, they found an ample amount of blood on the rug. All his clothes were thrown out. All his pictures were removed from the house. So they don't believe the baby's alive anymore, and that's really heartbreaking. So let's just pray that the police and authorities are able to at least recover the body so baby Emmanuel can get some justice, because it's like, don't worry, like, the parents will be taken care of, but let's pray for the baby's body to be found. All right, guys, so let's switch gears and go over to Bill O'Reilly. Mark Levin talks on power, Trump, and Putin with Bill O'Reilly. Yes, let's change the mood here. Let's see what these guys are talking about. Let's take a listen.
Let's bring him on in. Mark Levin, you know him. He comes on occasionally on this program. We're pleased to have him. Got a new book out on power. Very apropos, of course. Hit number 1 on the New York Times list. 9th time for Mr. Levin. Very impressive. Radio guy, 300 stations. He leads in the May on our flagship WABC in New York City. And he joins us now from Leesburg, Virginia. About that, I don't have a red carpet I can give you down there. I would have done that for you. I would have.
You're a good man, Bill, no matter what they say. You're a good guy.
And they say it a lot.
And let me say something else. I really couldn't disagree with the thing you said. Putin is a monster. He's a genocidal maniac. He's only getting worse. You make a great point. Even today, he's trying to bomb the hell out of the civilian centers in Ukraine. And let us not forget, in 1994, the Soviet Union, what was then Russia, signed a deal that Ukraine would turn all their nukes over to Russia, and in exchange, the United States, Britain, and Russia would protect their boundaries. And of course, he violated that. So the key here is, Putin wants all this land, and he also wants those areas where the Ukrainians are really dug in, and they believe they have a very strong line of defense beyond which the Russians have been unable to go. And he wants that too. And of course, the issue for the Ukrainians is, well, look, how are we supposed to keep doing this? We need security here. This guy's untrustworthy. As Bill says, as you say, this guy is really a head case. And as he's written, Bill, and he's written a Lent, or somebody did for him, it doesn't really matter. He believes it. This is just the first step. He thinks he's more aligned with Stalin than he is with Gorbachev.
Stalin's his idol. When you read my book, you'll see he models this whole thing on Stalin. But I have a very, very tough question for you right now.
Yeah.
You ready for that?
Barely.
All right. In this world, who's more powerful, Trump or Putin?
Hey, it's Governor Gavin Newsom, and we're not going to watch Donald Trump rig the next election. We're not going to just sit back and watch what's happening in Texas and not respond to it. It's time to fight fire with fire. We're going to the ballot. We're going to redistrict here in the state of California, but we're going to need your help. They're going to throw millions and millions of dollars at us. They're going to do whatever it takes to defeat this effort here in the Golden State. And that's why we need your support. $1, $5, $10.
And then you're gonna come to Gavin Newsom as he asks that question, really? Come on, man.
In this world, who's more powerful, Trump or Putin?
I don't think the answer is that tough. I think Trump is more powerful, and I'll tell you why. Right now, Putin's economy is a shambles.
Putin.
When you're relying on North Korean troops who don't know how to fight, and you are to some extent, and you were relying on Iran for your drones, and you're relying on China and India to pump up your economy, you're relying on a lot of outside factors. And you mentioned in your opening, there have been about 250,000 Russians who have died in this war, and on top of that, you have about 900 to 1 million casualties. In addition to that, they're taking more incoming in terms of death and casualties than the Ukrainians are. You look at their equipment, I went back and looked at this, they're losing tanks and personnel carriers at a clip of about 5 to 1 compared to the Ukrainians. And so, plus Donald Trump has basically opened the spigot. As much as Europe wants to buy our military equipment, he's going to sell it to them. And also this issue of tariffs against India and China to get them to stop buying oil. Trump could pull that trigger. He's talking about.
He hasn't done China yet because he's still working on it. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
Go ahead.
In this negotiation, because I'm going on the framework of your book. In this negotiation, Putin holds more power than Trump. And the reason is that Putin knows that NATO and the United States will not go to World War III to save Ukraine. What do you think?
Well, I don't think that's the test. I think the test is whether or not they'll go to World War III. Putin is more concerned about holding on to what he has. Then Trump leaves office. Then he figures he'll be able to roll over any Democrat and most Republicans. That's my concern. I don't think he's thinking about World War III with Donald Trump in position. See, he saw what Trump did with Iran, and he knows from his perspective, Trump is a wild card. He's not sure what Trump's going to do. And most people aren't. But Trump is not the isolationist, as some of the fake MAGAs say he is. He's not an appeaser, he's not a pacifist, he's a realist in many respects. So I also think that he saw what Trump was capable of about 3 or 4 weeks ago when Trump lost his patience with him and started to choke India and was planning on choking China, and again was willing to flow arms into Ukraine through Europe purchasing them. And I think that helped bring him to the table, because my concern is that after Trump leaves, he's going to say, all right, let me deal with Trump. Let me see what I can get under Trump. Let me, I'll take what I can get, and then we'll wait out. See, they're long-term.
Yeah, we'll violate everything when the next president comes in. But why hasn't President Trump sanctioned the banks yet? So he could have done it. He could have basically said, look, no banking corporation in the world who does business with Moscow in any way can do business with America or the EU. that breaks the banks. They can't do business with Putin. It starves Putin. Why hasn't he done it yet?
Maybe he will. I mean,
Oh,
he's
he
only
might.
in there 7.
But what I'm done, I'm
He's only
fine.
in there 7 months. He's in there 7 months, and he's been doing a hell of a lot in a lot of parts of the globe. So he may well do that. But maybe he doesn't want to open up yet other fronts of economic battle yet until he's done everything he can. But I don't speak for them. They don't sit down and explain it to me. I'm just giving you my judgment. That's still on the table, and even more than that, choking off their ability to bring any revenue in through their oil sales. That's the killer.
Yeah,
And you're
but that's
talking about
China.
that second level of sanctions, which would be the bank. If he wanted to destroy Russia, he can destroy Russia economically the way Reagan destroyed the Soviet Union. He can. And that's why, to answer your initial question on power, Trump has the cards. Number one, Ukraine is not our country. They're an ally. Number two, they're a victim. Number three, they've done enormous damage to Russia. Russia's done enormous damage to Ukraine. Ukraine has done more damage to Russia than anybody thought was even possible. In fact, every country that looks at Russia now sees that they're not the conventional military threat that they once were. They're a nuclear threat, there's no question about that.
Yeah, that's the problem.
They're not the same conventional military threat that they were before.
That's
So I
obvious.
think Putin's play is to work through Trump as best you can, and then wait for the next president to make further moves.
Okay. And that's why I think there will be a deal, but China is the key to it because China could speed it up. Now let's segue into Hamas and Israel. A couple of questions because I follow your commentary on this, and you've had some feuds with people that you believe are anti-Semitic and are shaping their foreign policy against Israel because they simply don't like Jews. I want a little more clarification on this. So in college campuses, the progressive left, which has always despised Israel since 1949 and Harry Truman, progressive left has always despised it, thinks it's a fascist state, thinks it stole the land from the Arabs. You know the whole history better than anyone. Okay. If a person buys into that, a younger person, say at Harvard or wherever, do they automatically hate Jews?
No, and I've never said that. I think when you platform Holocaust deniers, you platform people who are sympathetic to Hitler and are trashing Churchill, in other words, frauds, or when you platform people who are, in fact, out of the closet anti-Semites, that makes you an anti-Semite too. If you're marching in the streets against the war, that doesn't make you an anti-Semite. Makes you buffoon, because the terrorists are the terrorists, the same people hit us on 9/11, and we'll have a different type of debate about that. But when you have comics and others who come on and flat out spew, the KKK lines, the neo-Nazi lines, or when you have people talking about the river to the sea, when you're marching on that, you're talking about the extermination of the Jews. Yeah, you are what you are, and many of them are proud of it.
Hold on, when is the last time you checked on your...
That is true, many of them are proud. This is actually a good commercial, this home title lock.
home title? If your answer is never, then this is for you. Scammers are stealing titles, and your equity is a target. Criminals forge your signature.
That's HomeTitleLock.com. So if you're a homeowner, that's a pretty good and important commercial.
Yep. Here's the power quotient there. So you've got Israel, and I open up Confronting Evil with the October 6th attack. Demonstrate to the reader, you want to know what evil is, here's what evil is. And we have unbelievable description of what happened on that day. And that's how I kick off the book. But now you have a power Israel, very capable of defending its own people, has to be, against a movement, Hamas, and no rules.
Not sure if you saw the news, but Fox News is claiming President Trump is declining in the polls. President Trump...
There's not one rule. They'll kill babies, they'll hide behind women, and they'll blow up hospitals, they'll steal food from people who are dying. We all know So that, again, makes it very difficult for Israel to negotiate anything with people who got no rules, no compunctions, word means nothing.
rules. Yeah. No standards, no ethics.
That's 100%, which is why this whole thing is rather bizarre. I think, and to have Qatar, which is a terrorist regime, and Qatar, which funded Hamas and protected its leaders, and they are billionaires, those who are still alive. Qatar is a very dangerous country, as far as I'm concerned, in the United States. It's got its money everywhere, in both parties, and in the executive branch, and in Congress, and everywhere else. And both, as I said, it doesn't even matter who's in charge of what. It's a very dangerous situation. And so, as an example, you have Qatar and Egypt, which is on the border with Gaza, which has a real wall and will not allow any of those people out. I mean, even Netanyahu says, well, why don't you take them? Egypt, you keep negotiating or mediating, and you've got the whole Sinai Peninsula that we gave back, and Egypt wants none of them, not one of them. So they've closed the gate, they have the wall, they won't let them out. Qatar keeps supporting Hamas. They used to do it openly, now it does it behind the scenes, and those are the mediators, those are the people negotiating. And so it's a very strange thing. You know, Bill, what I see here is more of this Marxist model, this oppressor oppressed. And the media in Europe and our country, and even some in Israel, have turned Israel into the oppressor. Why? Because Israel can actually defend itself now. Israel needs the equipment. It's a tiny country, 9 million people. It doesn't have massive industry, but it's got massive technological know-how. And it's got warriors who are willing to fight because they know the alternative is death. And so all their people, they fight. They come out of the cafes. They have to go wherever they go. But you're right. The idea that you negotiate with terrorists as if they're
It's
terrorists.
crazy.
They're called terrorists for a reason. Because
Yeah.
they don't believe in rules.
But you have to.
They-
And to Trump's credit, he has neutralized Qatar a bit. And it's the way he operates. I don't know what his personal feelings are about it. I don't know if he has any. He's neutralized them a bit. Last question for you. Is there a television network, news operation in America that gives Israel a fair play?
Well, I think you do. I think there are certain podcasters who do. I think Fox does. I think Newsmax does. I think the rest of them, not that I watch them that much, but like on these Sunday shows, they're absolutely horrific. New York Times, Washington Post, they have a whole history of being horrific about this, and they are. They take the Hamas numbers and they regurgitate them. They bring in the most repulsive politicians, whether it's Bernie Sanders or people like that, who come on, and he's an out-of-the-closet Marxist. And, you know, he went to a kibbutz in Israel as a young man that was known as the Stalinist kibbutz, this guy's. And they bring him on like he's just your average politician. They bring on people like that who will speak what they know, who will say what they know. So I would say very few. In Europe, it's gotten horrific too. So there's very few.
Even England and Ireland. Even in England and Ireland. Even in England and Ireland, Israel cannot get a fair shake.
Yeah. And I have to say, you know, we're friends, but they're friends I disagree with. You're very honorable. You play right down the middle, and playing it down the middle means sometimes you got to take a side. The middle is what's the truth, what's the morality, what's virtue, what's the belief system.
Yeah.
And as you point out, it's terrorists versus a democratic civilization. And so when you play it down the middle, it doesn't mean 6 terrorists versus 6 Israel. You play it down the middle. The middle is, okay, who's the aggressor? Who's acting out of good faith? Who is conducting themselves in a highly immoral way, and so forth and so on. So when you play that down the middle, it shouldn't be that hard to know who's right and who's wrong. And that doesn't mean you agree with everything. But it means ultimately there's a good guy and a bad guy.
Well, you're astute enough to understand, because you're a historian like I am, that there are facts in this world. And usually when you gather the facts, the truth becomes known. So on a Putin, you'll remember in the beginning of the Ukraine war, you had high-profile people in the United States sympathizing with Putin. It was like you had Joseph Kennedy and Lindbergh sympathizing with Hitler. You had it. It was there. Okay? But I tore them to pieces on the facts. And last week, I just annihilated Ambassador John Bolton.
That's a
I
fact.
annihilated the man.
Yeah.
Because he hates Trump so much that whatever Trump does, he's going to oppose for personal reasons. And thereby he helps Putin. Okay? He helps Russia by doing it. That's called gathering the facts. And then the truth then exposes itself. And I think that's why you and I have been successful all these years. The book is on Power, #1 New York Times bestseller, which makes them deliriously happy. They love to put Mark Levin and Bill O'Reilly's name at the top of the bestseller list. I think they have parties, Levin, when you and I hit #1. I think they go out, have a bunch of drinks, and hey, those guys have done it again,
Well, let me say one thing on your behalf. You sent me an early copy of your book. Obviously, I've been busy when I started. I broke the back of it starting last night. It's another killer book. It's just a fantastic book for the reasons you say. You bring the facts to the table, and then you reason through the facts. I ask people to do the same thing. Just reason through these things.
Right. Stop with the agenda-driven garbage. When you have to just struggle to make your position even coherent, you know you're not on the right side. All right, Mark, it's always a pleasure. Hope we can do it again soon. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're the business
Well, you'll
guy.
be coming on my show. God bless you, brother. You take care of yourself.
And it won't be boring. When you and I get together, it's never boring. Okay. We'll see you later.
Hey, shout out to Mark Levin and Bill O'Reilly.
At
I
Planet
appreciate
Fitness,
those
there's a
guys.
number of ways to get strong.
So I think Mark Levin makes a great point when he says that Trump has the cards, and that Russia, like the economy of Russia, is not what it used to be. And that is he makes a great point when he says that they're relying on a lot of outside resources, and that's never a good thing. And yeah, when he brings up how they're relying on India, how they're relying on China, how they're relying on these countries Europe that are just outside of them, I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, he's making some pretty great points here. 1414 said that in the chat. All right, guys, so shout out to Bill O'Reilly and Mark Levin. Switch over to Tucker Carlson Network. Ivy League professor who predicted the 2008 crisis makes a terrifying prediction. Let's take a listen.
Where are we now? We're in a catastrophic situation. Catastrophe seems strong. Yeah. Well, I think you can make arguments the economy has a lot of problems. And there's a paradoxical problem with the economy. And that is, you can go up to any 7-Eleven and they can't hire. There's help wanted ads. So it looks like an economy burning hot. But if you look at the high end, there's layoffs going everywhere. So there's foreshadowing of real trouble coming.
So college graduates, even Ivy League graduates, humanities graduates, not engineers or chemists, but the business guy or whatever, they're having trouble getting jobs.
The kind that they're trained for, certainly.
Yeah, but they're just, I know a bunch of them, but you see it in the numbers. Educated 22-year-olds are having trouble getting jobs, but 7-Eleven can't hire.
Right.
So what is that?
Well, so this is a normal sort of, it's a distorted version of I think, a recession coming or in. Now, where it gets complicated is if you don't believe the inflation numbers, which I don't. And you've got Chapwood Index and shadow stats that give inflation numbers that are probably on average 6 or 7% higher than the official numbers. The official numbers are corrupted. And I don't want to go into it because it's technical, but
the CPI is...
The CPI is crap.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Now, here's the problem. If the economy's been growing 2.5%, and the inflation numbers are underestimated by 4, it means we've been in a recession the whole way.
Yeah, moving backwards.
We're moving backward. You say, well, that can't happen. The recessions last, 2 quarters, whatever. And I go, no, the British Empire was in a recession for a century. Right? They just shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And so no, you can be in a slow decline. But that's not that's not the catastrophe.
Recession means decline.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's a stupid word because it's like, you play golf?
No.
Well, if you play golf, you go down into the sand trap. According to the definition of a recession, once you start climbing out, you're out. You ask a golfer if he's out of the sand trap because he's on the upslope of the trap, he's not.
No.
So the fact that your economy's not growing again, if it's coming out of a hole, as far as I'm concerned, you're not out until you've gotten past that previous period.
So you're at par.
Yeah, so you're at par, right? Now, that's not the catastrophe because they happen all the time, and we've been able to either cover them or fake them or prevent them through very bad monetary
policies.
Right. And what's bad? Pumping the stock market is just stupid. But private equity has bought up 80% of the hospitals, the healthcare. And what they do is they go in and they buy some organization, they strip it of its assets, they load it with debt, they pay themselves huge fees and bonuses, and then they sell the shell of a company, which is now effectively worthless, into the marketplace, like to pension funds, who are not smart enough to recognize that they just bought a piece of crap. And according to Gretchen Morgensen, a 47% bankruptcy rate. Now,
post-sale.
Post-sale. Now,
47%
as long as
is
it's
crazy.
profitable to buy up viable companies, destroy them, sell the shell, and make money, money's too loose.
This is the Toro Work Short, a versatile, everyday option. The Toro comes in a lightweight,
precious capital. If capital is of real value, it's a moat. So a good businessman can get capital, a bad businessman can't. The fact that BlackRock could buy single-family dwellings, which is a terrible business, you really can't make money unless there's a housing boom and you leverage up to hell. The fact that they can get it for at an interest rate of 0.15% is a highly flawed system. And that's where the inventory went after 07 to 09. They got bought up by these guys who could lever up and then charge rents to people. So they basically scoop up the housing market. Now,
With free money.
with free money. Kind of free money, unlike, credit cards, which are 25%, right?
And not just free. I mean, once you factor in inflation,
It's a gift. Yeah, it's profitable money.
literally just taking the loan is profitable.
Yes.
You don't have to do anything with it.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
So here's what happened. Somehow the market has ceased to respond, and the reason the market's important is because of the wealth effect. And that is that if you own equities, you own a house, and they're soaring in price, your spending habits change. I'm having a great year, for example. So when the Bank of Dad has to provide some liquidity to the children, I feel okay about it, right? The problem is that it's a false wealth. It's not real wealth. It's a false wealth.
So the people trying to wreck our civilization want you to be passive. They want you weak so they can control you. Weakness is their goal. No thanks. Our friends at Beam, a proud American company, understand that our country can only be great if its people are strong. And that's why they've created a new creatine product to help listeners like you stay mentally sharp and physically fit. People like to mock creatine. CNN doesn't like creatine at all. But people buy it because it works. Beam's creatine can help you improve your strength, your brain health, your longevity. It's completely free of sugar and synthetic garbage that's in almost everything else that you eat. Of course, you don't hear about it too much because, again, a population that is strong, clear-minded, and physically capable is a threat to tyrants. That's why they want you playing video games. To celebrate American strength, actual American strength, Beam is offering up to 30% off their best-selling creatine for the next 48 hours. Go to shopbeam.com/Tucker. Use the code Tucker at checkout. That's shopbeam, BEAM.com/Tucker. Use the code Tucker for up to 30% off. It's built on core values: integrity, results, no BS. Beam. We strongly strongly recommend it.
So what happened? Well, I'm getting tired of seeing these. I've seen 4-year plots of the equity market. They make various comparisons. I go, don't go back 4 years. Don't go back 40 years. Go back 120 years. So I follow about 25 metrics of valuation. Valuation is inherently a price of the market relative to something it ought to track. Whether it's the earnings, the revenues, the book value, a thing called Tobin's Q, the GDP, which is a fictional number, as I've heard you recently say. But I follow about 25 of them. So you can kind of track when the markets have gotten expensive relative to the thing it ought to track. Now, around 1981, the markets were at the cheapest valuation, arguably in history. Inflation was scaring everyone, which is why they were cheap. It turns out that the boomers were just hitting the workforce, so demographics was a huge tailwind starting around then. And most economists agree demographics is huge. Now, I'm disingenuous in that I quote economists selectively. In the next sentence, I'll probably say something horrible about them, and so I'm obviously cherry-picking my data, but economists like demographics. So the boomers hit the workplace, so it was almost guaranteed. I think Reagan was not important. I think he did some very important things, but I think whoever got to be president was going to be at the beginning of a boom. It turns out that China was coming out of the Dark Ages. They started selling labor at slave wages. They were so desperate for capital when they sent their leader, don't make me pronounce his name, to the United Nations when he first started opening up.
Is it Deng Xiaoping?
Yes. And they had to scrounge to get the money to send him. I mean, they really didn't have any foreign capital. And so I remember when China said, we're going to let our workers keep some of their profits. And it's like, whoa. Russia the Soviet Union hadn't collapsed, but they were in trouble. So they were obviously cranking a resource base as hard as they could. And we had our guys in there helping them and stuff like that. And interest rates were at all-time highs. And if you read a 1999 article by Buffett, who I think is a hoser, I think he's much more of a stock jobber, much more of a conniver than he is. He loves to be the mafia don, walk around in a bathrobe saying, I'm harmless. He is not harmless. When we're in a bottom, he breaks all sorts of laws. They do all sorts of insider crap to bail the system out. But he pretends to just like Dairy Queen and Coca-Cola and whatever. He wrote an article in 99 that said, you want to understand secular, big, long, bull versus bear markets, it's all interest rates. He said, it's not GDP. He said, from 67 to 81, everything sucked. It treaded water, not accounting for inflation, and the markets dropped 75% accounting for inflation. So it was a horrible period. He said, the GDP grew faster during that period than from 81 to 99. But interest rates from 67 to 81 went up monotonically. From 81 to 99, they went down. So we started in 81 with interest rates in the high teens. And over the next 40 years, they dropped to zero. That is absolutely the story. So when interest rates are dropping, risk assets go up.
Yeah.
Because they're competing against it as cheaper. So bottom line is that we just enjoy 40-year recency bias.
Can you just explain that principle right there? You said that as interest rates drop, risk assets go up.
Or are you going to buy shares of the stock that, by the way, has treated you like crap over the previous 14 years, or a bond that pays you 17%? Right? So the bonds become less, the fixed income become less and less attractive steadily for 40 years. Now, take the Case-Shiller PE, which is just one of the metrics, but I happen to like it. It's a kind of an averaged earnings, price-earnings ratio. It also doesn't allow you to cheat because it doesn't use the immediate, and forward PEs are stupid, but Case-Shiller averages, so I like it. If you take the Case-Shiller from 1880 to 1990, it just channels. It's a valuation metric, and it just goes up and down and up and down, and that's what it should do. It responds to things, but it stays in a channel. It's flat. Valuation metrics shouldn't trend. they should trend for a while, but then they should regress to the mean, unless someone can give me an argument why they should trend, and I don't think there is one. And I've tried to find one. And then in 1990, they just kind of started to take off. And the Case-Shiller PE averaged around 12-13% for 110 years. And around 1990, oddly, 1994, in every metric is when things left. I think it's because of a bond problem or something. I haven't been able to quite figure out why. But the valuations went up. Now, here's the problem with valuations going up. And now they're astronomical. So the Case-Shiller PE averaged 13, which meant it was priced to return about 8% a year, right? If you think of it as a gas station, and you're paying, 13-to-1 earnings, you're getting about 8%. And it keeps pumping gas every year, you get about 13%. It is now 38. It's way above where it should be. It's a factor of 200%. Now, if you assume it's never going to regress to the mean, now you're accepting, crudely speaking, a 2.5% return, not an 8. Now, if you're okay with 2.5%, that's fine. But by the way, most pensioners, most boomers are not planning on 2.5%.
They're not.
Right. Now, if it regresses to the mean, it's a 70% correction, assuming, if it's fast, assuming nothing else changes. No damage to the economy, all the bad things that happen when you lose 70% off the equity market, which is a questionable assumption. Another way to think about it, which I think is much clearer, is if you say, look, we'll just grow our way out. They can go up or down or up and down. You don't worry about the path. You say, if we grow 2.5% a year, which I just questioned as being valid, but let's assume it's valid. If we grow 2.5% a year, to get back to historical average of 13 will take 45 years. Now, here's the thing. I made no assumptions about good news, bad news. I assumed it's going to be like the 20th century. 2.5% a year. It'll be 45 years from now. I don't care what path you follow. If we are at the average Case-Shiller PE and the economy grew 2.5% a year, the equity markets will have returned capital gains 0.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.
Shout out to Tucker Carlson and his guest, spitting some pretty terrifying facts. All right, let's move over to the last clip of the live stream, guys. We got Cliff Buell up. Let's see what he says tonight is when you know Christ. So be a buffalo, not a cow. Let's take a listen.
It's scary how true this is. Watch. Have you ever heard the metaphor of the buffalo and the cows? No, for sure. Buffalo and cows, they can both sense when a storm is coming. Big terrible rainstorms coming, they both sense it. And cows, they take off, run away. Buffalo, they sense the storm and they run right at it. They run right into the storm. And I compare that to trauma. We're just creating a generation of cows where we're making it okay for us. We just let them run away from it and not deal with it. And the cool thing is cows, as they're running away from the storm, they get tired. The storm catches up with the cows, and the cows keep running. They don't stop. If they stop, let the storm pass. No, they just run with the storm. And so they're in this misery and shame and guilt. They're in this way longer than they have to be. The buffalo, they run into the storm and it's terrifying. Once you get past that first initial scare, that fear, and you get in the storm and the storm passes, then they're happy and they're rested, and then they can enjoy what the storm gave them, the water and the grass and all that stuff. It's scary how true this is. Watch. Have you ever heard the metaphor of the buffalo and the cows? No, for sure. Buffalo and cows, they can both sense when a storm's coming. Big terrible rainstorms coming, they both sense it. And cows, they take off, run away. Buffalo, they sense the storm and they run right at it. They run right into the storm. And I compare that to trauma. We're just creating a generation of cows where we're making it okay for us. We just let them run away from it and not deal with it. And the cool thing is cows, as they're running away from the storm, they get tired. The storm catches up with the cows, and the cows keep running. They don't stop. If they stop, let the storm pass. No, they just run with the storm. So they're in this misery and shame and guilt. They're in this way longer than they have to be. The buffalo may run into the storm, and it's terrifying. Once you get past that first initial scare, that fear, and you get in the storm and the storm passes, then they're happy and they're rested, and then they can enjoy what the storm gave them, the water and the grass and all that.
Shout out to Cliff. He says be a buffalo, not a cow. All right, guys. Thanks for spending tonight with me on the corner. We will be back tomorrow. I'll be bringing you guys more than one live stream tomorrow. Plan is one earlier in the day, one later in the day. So you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday night. And until tomorrow, take care of yourselves, take care of one another. Love yourselves, love one another, be peaceful. Peace.